Good afternoon, everybody. This is Christine Madonia from ScanForce, and we're here today to talk about Sage Intacct Inventory Automation, which is a mouthful, so we'll say SIIA. First, I want to talk about inventory in general without barcode scanning, because that is what the fun stuff is, right? So let's talk about inventory management, right? We have to bring product in. How do we do that? Maybe a purchase order, maybe a positive inventory adjustment up, right? We're bringing it in. We may need to track lot numbers. We may need to track serialized items. We may need to print labels. We can also leverage existing barcodes, but we have to get the inventory in somehow. Without barcode scanning, right, you have to bring in the product and then maybe write down on a piece of paper, this is the PO number, this is how much I brought in. And then you have to pass that to somebody in accounting. Then they're actually creating the receiver in Intacct. So that's two people doing the same thing twice. If we put a barcode scanner in the hands of the person that's actually touching the inventory, well, a couple things happen. Number one, we have real-time inventory. Our reality is in sync with our ERP system, Sage Intacct. So that's part of bringing it in. And bringing it in is the most important piece, right? Because if we check everything as against the purchase order using the scanner, right, it's a lot more reliable than a piece of paper. Next, we move inventory around. We need to track it. We need to know where it is, especially if there's any lot or serial or even bin locations. We need to track the inventory. So some ways that we do that, we can move product in between warehouses with warehouse transfers. We can get items ready to go to a project or a job or for an order. And then we can also do cycle counts. We can also kit items. So we have inventory within the system, and we need to make sure that we track it accurately, efficiently, and timely. Next, inventory goes out the door. Maybe it doesn't go out the door in a traditional sense. It can go out on a sales order, but we can also consume inventory. We can consume supplies, and by consuming that, I mean a negative adjustment out, so we can get inventory out of the system. So maybe we have projects or jobs, and we're assigning inventory to that. We're issuing it out to a job or a project. Again, without barcode scanning, we would be writing that down on a piece of paper and then manually entering that into Intacct. So another possibility is order entry, right? You can pick an order, you can pack it, and then ship it. And then we also have the ability to ship with small parcel carriers as well. I won't go into too much of that now. So inventory goes in, we move it around, and then it goes out. Now, let's get into the fun stuff, which is barcode scanning. So what is SIIA, Sage Intacct Inventory Automation? So this is the Sage module for barcode scanning. We extend inventory-related transactions onto the mobile device, but in a much easier to use format, right? So instead of all of the information that you need in the header and Intacct when you're creating a transaction, we on the scanner can just pull up order number, and then warehouse, item, quantity. So think of this as really a portal into Intacct or an extension of Intacct into the warehouse floor. Doesn't have to be a warehouse. It could be a supply closet. Anything is possible, right? Wherever we track inventory. But is the mobile application just barcode scanning, right? What if we don't have barcodes? What if we just have items? What if we're using concrete, right? And we can't slap a label on that. Well, another big piece of SIIA is the mobile component. So we can use the application to capture inventory-related transactions in real time. So somebody is actually moving product, and they can actually scan the product, then transfer it onto a truck, or they could transfer it out for a job, right? So it's not just the barcode scanning piece. Of course, barcode scanning is efficient. Everybody's been to a like Amazon. You've seen Amazon. You've seen everything has a barcode, and in addition, you've seen like Walmart. You go to a grocery store. You go to an airport, right? So it's not just barcode scanning. It's the ability to capture information regarding a transaction in Intacct and send it back in real time. So a lot of companies may have different facilities, different locations, right? This mobile piece really helps bring everything together into that central area, which is Sage Intacct. Next, why would we use SIA? So I already mentioned this a little bit, but number one, timeliness, right? We want to be able to know exactly what we have on hand and exactly what's moving around in real time. If we don't have real time, what does that mean? It means that purchasing may run a report and think that they don't have product when actually it was received on Monday, but the system didn't know until Thursday, right? So timeliness, really important. Also accuracy. By using SIA, you can actually validate information against Sage Intacct. So if the buyer places the order, well, he or she ran a report. They know exactly what quantities they wanted to order and why. The scanner then is going to look at those quantities and make sure that we're validating, yeah, we did order 100 of those, not 1,000, right? The application is also the direct integration with Sage Intacct, so it is an extension of Sage Intacct Inventory Management. We can also work in a connected or disconnected environment, and then of course the app is also extremely stable. Next, just some general benefits, and if you just Google anything about barcode scanning, of course you're going to see how barcode scanning saves time, right? So one of these really important ones is like for a cycle count, you have up to 80% of for time savings. There's also a huge return on investment for this. If you look at some mistakes that are being made in the warehouse, for example, a mispick, that can cost hundreds, thousands of dollars. So again, just benefits to using a system that gives you up-to-date information and that you can validate against Sage. Also, we can prevent shrinkage here. So you don't just find product or you don't just lose product, right? So we want to be able to know that your inventory is up to date and accurate. And all of the reporting that happens in Intacct, we want that to be something that you trust and feel really good about. The only way to do that, though, is of course with barcode scanning and real-time capturing of transactions. Of course, we know the world is tumultuous at the moment, and efficiency really is not optional anymore. We also have a blog post about the cost of not doing WMS that we will share after this as well. All right, next is my solution highlights. So again, we can scan barcodes. We have real-time inventory. This does function in a disconnected environment. So if you have dead spots or you don't have Wi-Fi in certain locations, as long as we have Wi-Fi in the beginning and the end of a transaction, then you're able to still use the system and keep everything up to date. We also have, of course, world-class support and a stable platform. We do have a couple of neat enhancements that I want to mention. Number one is image capture, and this exists at PO receiving, sales order, item adjustments. A really good example is if you have an item adjustment and you have a damaged item adjustment specifically in Intacct, you could actually take a picture of it being damaged, and the picture attaches to that adjustment back in Intacct, so you can actually verify, oh, somebody tried to say that this was damaged. Oh, wait, here's a picture. We know that it is. Also really good to use on the purchasing side, right? Because you may have a signed bill of lading and you want to make sure that you can track that and keep it with the PO and intact. So being able to pull up the order on the scanner, receive it in, and then you can take a picture of the packing list, the bill of lading, send that back into Intacct. You've got the receiver created and you have the photos associated with that order. Signature capture, we can also do that to confirm orders. We can do PO on the fly, especially useful in the construction industry, but I've seen it used elsewhere as well. PO on the fly or SO on the fly is the ability to create a purchase order or a purchase requisition from the scanner. Maybe a foreman on a construction site looks around, says, man, I really need a bunch of these different pieces and parts. He can pull out his phone and create a purchase order requisition that then somebody can look at in Intacct and assign a vendor to and get that ordered. SO on the fly, we could also create a sales order from the scanner. And then outbound serialization, maybe you don't want to track serial items throughout every single piece and part of the process. You just want to track the serial number on the way out the door. That's what this little enhancement is as well. Tools and technology, I'll just mention, we do need to have a mobile device to use. So we do have Zebra scanners. ScanForce does consult with you about this and different pieces and parts of, what your temperature is, how far away your barcodes are going to be. Do you have Wi-Fi or do you need Ethernet for your printer? So we help you with all of that. And there's no there should be no concerns there around the hardware. I also have a TC22 at my desk that I'm about to do some scanning with. So without further ado, we'll get to that demo here. All right. Just going to minimize that. And now I have my demo system up. You can see I have my TC22. I'm sharing my screen here. And then I also have Sage Intacct over here on the left. We're going to go ahead and receive in a purchase order. So first I'm going to go to PO receiving on the scanner, and then it's going to prompt me for a PO number. If I have the PO number, let's say I mentioned earlier a packing list. If I have it on the packing list, great. I could tap the screen and type it in. If I have a PO number that is barcoded on a sheet of paper, great. I could scan that. Alternatively, I can hit the little lookup here, and it's looking back at Intacct at all possible open purchase orders that I could receive in. So this is looking at my specific transaction in my environment for open PO. So I'm going to go down to the bottom. Security Supply Depot is the one that we're going to receive in. So I'm going to load that up on the scanner. Again, I mentioned that we need to have the Wi-Fi in the beginning of the transaction and then at the end of the transaction to send the data. Right now, we could be in we could go out where there's no Wi-Fi and still be validating against this purchase order. First thing it's going to prompt for is the warehouse. I will say, yeah, warehouse number 1, that's where I'm receiving this in. Next, it's going to show me the different items that are on order. So I have a battery and I have a couple of cameras that have different SKUs. So the first thing I'm going to do is I do have a little box at my desk. I'm going to scan the barcode and it's going to carry me over to the next screen. And I need to receive in 10 of these. Perfect. I don't need to print a label for that because I scanned a barcode. Next, let's say I don't have a barcode for this next item here, the 1005 camera. I can just tap the screen. It fills in the item code for me. I'm going to hit accept. And again, I'm back to how many are you receiving in? Let's say I put in 12. Uh-oh, I actually put in 122. I fat fingered it, right? That happens. We especially if maybe somebody's run over a device with a pallet jack or something, right? But it's going to stop me. We can't receive in 122. I'm only expecting 12. So I'll say, whoops, I just meant to do 12. Also, this time I do want to print a label for this item because I didn't have one. Great, next item. I'm going to pick up something else at my desk and scan it. Uh-oh, this one is not on the order. So again, data validation. We're validating against what the people in purchasing have requested. So I'll say, whoops, maybe the vendor sent the wrong item. Maybe I just picked up an item that's for a different order. Anything is possible, but at least the scanner is telling me, whoa, you're doing something wrong, right? So you just have to stop for a second. So I'll say, whoops, I didn't mean to do that. I meant to do this camera. We hit accept. Yep, I'll get all 16. I'll print my label. Good to go. There's nothing left to receive in for this order. I can always go ahead and review it here if I hit the little clipboard, but I'm ready to send this back into Intacct. And this is where the magic happens. So this is going to create the receiver for me in Intacct. If I'm in the warehouse, right, I'm just going to go to the next purchase order and keep receiving in, or I'm going to do a warehouse transfer. I'm going to move product, put it away. If I'm in the finance department, right, I'm going to stretch this out, pretend we're not in the warehouse anymore. I'm going to go back over to Intacct and I'm going to go to purchasing and my PO receiver. And here it is, Security Supply Depot. If I go ahead and view that, I have product on hand. So these 3 products now, I've brought them in, they're on hand. I can do stuff with them. We did not have to wait for me to write them down and then maybe go to lunch and then get that piece of paper up into accounting, and then accounting left for the day. And now we're 24 hours out of whack, right? This is real time. I'm going to show you one other transaction as well, which is a cycle count. So in Sage Intacct, you first have to create the list of items that you want to count. So I can go over to my cycle count here, and I have some different items on this list. Of course, it'll probably look like a small list to most of you, but these are just my items that I have. So I have a bin tracked item. I've got my entry systems and batteries. What I'm going to do is pull that list up on the scanner and get the data into the count. So Intacct cycle count, I'm going to do a little lookup here, and I'm going to have my demo count. I hit accept, and now you're going to see that familiar list of items that I had. So I go through, and I can also indicate, number 1, if I've counted anything, and number 2, if anything is damaged. So I'm going to pick up that same little battery that I have, scan it, and I'll say, I found 3 of them that were damaged, and I can indicate that right here. But also, I probably counted a lot more of them, right? Let's say we counted 264 of those. Perfect. Next, I'll just scan another item. You may notice here that there's no information. If I get this out of the way, you'll notice there's no information about how many I think I should have, right? And that's by design. We want to make sure that this is truly a blind count. There are no hints here. We want you to really count it. So we'll say we found 368 of those, good to go. Let's say that I'm done counting my section or my items for the day. I send it back over to Intacct, and we're going to see that count sheet updated with the data that we collected on the scanner. After this, there's a reconciliation process. This is the only thing that is not real time. What's real time is we're getting it into this screen so that you can run reports. You can decide if you're going to make the adjustments or if you need to do any recounts. So that is our PO receiving and our cycle count with a little label printing as well. And I'm going to turn it back over to Woody and see if there are any questions.
All right, thank you, Christine. First thing I want to mention is that this session has been recorded, and we'll be sending it out to everyone that did register for this. So probably about this time tomorrow, you should be seeing this. And if you are wanting to ask a question to Christine, go ahead and put that either in the chat or in the question area on my screen. It's up on the top right, so you can click on. There's a little question word balloon there and a double word balloon for the chat section, so you can go ahead and put that there. For a question, let's see here. If warehouse staff is using paper, spreadsheets, mobile devices, is it a tough transition to move over to some of the barcoding that you're talking about?
Oh, great question. I would say that, as long as you have the processes in place, and the idea that you want to track inventory better, right? By putting a scanner in the hand of your workers, you're actually encouraging you're encouraging the system to work consistently, right? So you have no way of deviating from any of the different screens, right? Because you have to put in the piece of data one piece of data per screen. So it can be a little bit overwhelming, but once you realize how easy it is, it's so much easier to scan a barcode or to select things on the screen than it is to write down information and then manually type that in. Good question.
All right, Natalie, I'm going to see if I get this question right. How do you capture the serial number when shipping out? Is that what you want to know?
Oh, great. Yeah, great. Was that yeah, so if
Okay,
if an item is serial tracked, the scanner will prompt for a serial number. So I'm more than happy to connect with you after the fact and show you what that looks like. I kept it simple today and just used items that did not have any tracking. But great question. We can certainly leverage serial tracking, bin tracking, lot tracking, and expiration date tracking as well.
All right. During a cycle count, after you have recorded one item and that item is located somewhere else, when you scan it a second time and enter a new number, Does it add the two or overwrite?
Great question. So I would say you did not mention any bin locations in that question. So yeah, it would add it to the count. So for example, if we look at my screen is still up here, this entry system, if somebody else were counting, or if I went back in and found more of that and sent it in, it's going to add it up. Yep. Until we're done with the count, right? Until we say no more counting, no more sending data in. Great question.
Next question, someone wants to confirm that the cycle count scanning would also capture lot, serial, and expiration data.
Absolutely. Again, I just kept it simple on my demo system, but it absolutely, if any item is lot tracked, serial tracked, expiration, or bin, the scanner is going to prompt for that. You can see on my screen here, I do have a bin tracked item. I would have needed to count that item in that bin. If it were in other bins, right, that would just be on the list as well. Great question.
Next question, do you support GS1 barcodes?
We absolutely do. We support GS1 barcodes. We also support, UPC codes, 2D barcode scanning. There may be some barcode parsing. It's not always the barcode information is not always in the same order as our screen's prompt. So it depends when we get into 2D barcodes, but we can certainly parse that information out and get it where it needs to go. But yes, we absolutely work with GS1 barcodes.
All right, if we are using inventory control currently and have items with transactions behind them, we want to start using ScanForce and enable bin tracking. The system does not allow me to enable bin tracking on those items with transactions. Is there a workaround besides having to set up new item numbers?
That's going to be a great question for your Sage partner around setting up any items, or if you have any transaction definitions to adjust. As of right now, if your items are not bin tracked, then we would not prompt for the bin location on the scanner.
All right, last call now for questions. Anybody else want to have anything? That does not look like it.
All right, great questions, everybody. Thank you so much, and Woody will send out that recording here probably tomorrow. And then if you have any other questions, please give me a call. Oh, thank you, Jacqueline.